Namaste and welcome to Live, Love, Engage. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and today I am delighted to have two people joining me on the podcast today. And they are an awesome couple that I met about a little over a year ago, actually at a speaking conference. So let me introduce them first, but I will tell you that we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things today, really all about the purpose of my podcast, which is how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically. So stay tuned. First off, I want to introduce Crystal Ra Laksmi-Ditton, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is originally from Estonia. And she has been a business owner for the past 12 years. She is highly educated. She's got 2 university degrees in anthropology, and she's a world traveler by nature who has accumulated a lot of knowledge and experiences on how to live life on her terms, which is awesome. And she is joined by Michael Ditton, who is originally from Southern California and has owned and operated 5 companies until he sold everything and sailed up and down the Pacific coast of Mexico, semi-retiring for almost 10 years, living life fully on his terms. And of course, as the universe would have it, these two met in Mexico in December 2014, and they've been working and living together ever since because they have a loving and conscious marriage where they're also playing a good role in all the communities where they live and call themselves aloha ambassadors. With over 60 years of combined experiences as healers, teachers, entrepreneurs, students, and business professionals, their common life mission is to unite both of their skills, knowledge, and inner growth so they can use it for the benefit of their clients and a better world. So first off, welcome, Crystal Ra and Michael. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, glad to be here. Aloha.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys, the two of you used to live in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. We right. We met in Mexico, and in 2016, doing some traveling, we were in Hawaii, which we both love and have worked and played in for a while. And we were trying to decide where we wanted to move to. And in first part of 2017, we moved over there. Loved it, but we also found that with the things that we do, we were starting to spend more time away from there than we were there, and logistically, it just didn't make sense. Number 2 on the list was San Diego, so that's where we're at.
Wow, that is a lovely area. That was actually my number 2 choice for where I was going to move when I graduated from college. I moved to Florida initially from Michigan, and then I thought, well, if I didn't like Miami, San Diego was my second choice. So nice. I really love that area. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about a whole bunch of things, but I think number 1, I know that you two have really, you've experienced sort of highs and lows with financial and emotional ups and downs, and it's helped you to come up with a unique toolbox of how to build up a holistic abundance in all sorts of areas of your lives. In fact, I know one of the things, after we had met last year, I know you were working on like an abundance program, and were able to, you graciously allowed me to check it out, and it was awesome that you put together. So maybe let's start with a little bit about, maybe tell me a little bit about, I guess, why is it important for us to create holistic abundance in our lives? I'm going to start with that, and whoever wants to answer can answer.
I personally believe that we are all born with holistic abundance, but the way we are conditioned by culture or society in general has maybe given a different picture. So we so often run into blockages or believing that we don't have this or that, and then we are chasing also the wrong things, and we just end up in wrong places with wrong people, wrong jobs, and very, very unhappy. And this has been over and over my own experience as well, my clients who ended up coming to me. And number one question over all these 25 some years I've worked with people has been, Crystal, I need more resources, I need more money. And when we have been diving into it, we have figured out it has never been exactly or directly about the money. It has been about, blockages in their sexuality or relationships, relationship with themselves, or negative self-talk, or their body, mind, spirit is out of whack and completely out of balance. They don't take care of themselves, or they have no idea what their life purposes are, and they just do a wrong job, which is not really giving their fulfillment. And then as the result of all of these things, there is no money or no holistic abundance. And then they end up so unhappy and so unfulfilled.
Yeah, and if you think about it, holistic abundance, when we're brought into this world, there is no limitations or restrictions other than the lack of knowledge.
Right.
And over the years, the knowledge that we gain, unfortunately, in a lot of circumstances, limits our beliefs by being told we can't, or being told, whatever the case might be.
Right.
So those are the limited belief systems that carry through as we grow into maturity. And until you first have a desire to want more, whether it be dreams or goals or things of that nature, secondly, you have to identify those limiting beliefs and begin to work on them. And a lot of time it comes with change of mindset, maybe a different sphere of influence of people that you're hanging around, different education. Maybe you're doing something you don't like, but if you do something that you're passionate about and learn how to do it, and so it serves you, there's just so many different ways. And it's not that it's anybody's fault per se. It's more or less life. And I learned very early that if you surround yourself with successful, positive people, guess what happens? Successful, positive things happen to you. But I was very blessed. A lot of people may not have that same opportunity as they grow up, and they don't realize that it's a choice. And as we grow older, if you take advantage of making that choice or that decision to better improve yourself. We just launched a new program, compliments of COVID. It's called Reinvent Yourself. And we did it because people go into a fear mentality, and fear can either paralyze you or it can motivate you. So we created a webinar called Positive Infusion, and it took people into that Reinvent Yourself, basically turning fear into courage. So we try to provide the gifts and knowledge that we've learned over a period of time to help people maybe that haven't had that opportunity yet. So yeah.
And many people, they don't maybe consciously think that deep inside they are all yearning and desiring holistic abundance. Even if you think of like, oh, I would like to have a house or a car or more security, whatever that is, all in together. If you look, we created something called Abundance Wheel, which is consisting of all of these things: sexuality, relationships, health, life mission, and holistic abundance as a result of it. Our job here as humans is actually to figure all these out and make it work on our terms, where we are and how we are, and also realize that this existence as a human here is not only about the money. It's actually to figure out what are my talents and skills and my treasures. How can I serve this planet and people here? And when I figure these things out, and when we figure these things out, then everything starts to come with more ease and more, flow. And money will be like an instant natural result of all of those things. And we consider holistic abundance, it's also time, it's love, it's attention, it's good people, possibilities, even, going to other people's podcasts. That's holistic abundance. So you can amplify and multiply all of the things and share, and then they can take off from there to places you don't even know they could get to. So,
and the expansion of holistic abundance, and people don't need to fully understand it. I mean, it's good to know it, but the easiest way to think about it, I've been using this analogy a lot lately. So people come to us and they say, well, I need to get more money. And traditionally, the first thing they think about is they work more hours, they get a different job.
Right.
They don't necessarily look for, where that blockage might be. And if they come to us, we'll do a mapping through the abundance wheel and a mapping process and help them identify. Normally, it's never what they thought it was.
Mm.
So once we can help them with the tools to clear that blockage, what happens is they're moving along in this abundance wheel and they're going round and round. And even if they're struggling, they're still moving in the right direction, at least we hope. And, the snowball is getting a little bit bigger, but it's also, it's difficult to push on that flat ground.
Yeah.
Once you figure out what that blockage is, and again, normally not where you think it is, it's like going right over the edge of the hill with the snowball. And as soon as you do, you're going to have less resistance. It's going to roll faster and it's going to get bigger. It's going to expand. And that's kind of where we come into, is we help find that the tools that will get them to that point where they can expand.
But also sometimes you're so stuck yourself that you're not able to see where those blockages or things are holding back, So if you have someone with the outside perspective and looking at what those things are, or asking the right questions, you can immediately figure out where those things are stuck and take the first steps there towards holistic abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree that a lot of times we can't see our blind spots because we're too close to it. And so the benefit of having, hiring a coach or what have you, therapist, whatever you need, but having that outside perspective is so valuable. I agree, 100%. One thing I wanted to talk about, we mentioned at the top that we were going to kind of focus on a little bit about my sort of 3 core messages of my my podcast, which is about living fully, loving deeply, and engaging authentically. And I have my strategies to help that, but I know you do as well. So you have some sort of keys that you have found to help people to live fully. Can you share what that is that you have found in your work and maybe your own life experiences and working with other clients?
Go ahead.
So number one thing we have noticed is actually to figure out what your life purposes are. And it's kind of a cliche word. Many people is like, what does it even mean? And life purpose can be a really simple thing, something you enjoy doing so much you don't even think that this is some talent or special ability or skill. Right. Like in my case, I really love to write. I can sit down and write a blog post like 1,200 words like in no time. It's like kind of, breathing out. While Michael here is really good with editing, like he can do that. And for me, that's like a no-no. And Michael's writing is a different style, and it's not, his style and talent that way. So, and then Michael has other talents, like he's a really good MC, a speaker, many of those things. And then that's, his purpose. So now our purpose and also focus should be actually to figure out how can I now create a different channel for these things to express themselves. So in our case, we have created blogs, now we also have podcast coming out. So you create these different channels. And I think the timing and the new time area where we are going, number one thing is also actually we have to figure out how these different talents and actually have those different channels so that they can also start to produce income from these different revenues. And once this happens, we will actually never go broke anymore, because if one revenue stops, then we still have those other ones coming and producing. So this is also one thing which has been kind of really in this old way of thinking, like having just one job, and then once someone takes that job away, you're really screwed. And that's the situation many people experienced during the COVID. Like they were so vulnerable. If they didn't have rainy day funds, they were really, really in big trouble. So that's like one of the first keys with that.
Yeah, and the live, love, and engage. To me, it's the living part is doing what you love. The loving is serving,
right?
And the engage is action. And with how we achieve it through the life purposes and life mission, and they are two different things. We have a joint life mission. Our life purposes are going to be different, and they're going to be multiple. I mean, we use purposes in plural. Basically, we do what we have to achieve our life mission. For example, right now, our company's relatively new. We just moved. We're recreating, the community that we're in. We're basically starting all over again. So we're doing multiple things in order to achieve our ultimate, joint life mission. And it's gonna be different things for the both of us. Crystal has hers. I have mine.
Yeah, and sometimes these channels, they don't like pop up right away and start to be the income producing channels. Like, with podcast, there may be a year it will build up the numbers and downloads, and then people are really starting to take you seriously. So you have to be also very consistent, persistent, and work with it or on it. So on the side, you have to figure out like, okay, so what are the other things which can support that? Maybe you have to even, do additional jobs or additional talents you can put into use. So it can support to open up that channel the way you would like it to work on your terms. So this is also sometimes very confusing for people, and they just want to kind of jump into something without really, figuring out like how this is all hanging together and how this can become a sustainable, stream of income and stream of opportunities, and also support you in a kind of holistic way. And the second big key we actually have is to find your twin flame or twin spirit, as we say. And many people, if you're already married, you say like, or I lost that chance or whatever, But we believe that even if you're married, you can still meet that special someone. Maybe some life or some time it is like you're just going to be a cooperation partner with that person. So you can create something special with that someone special. And in our case, we were so lucky. We bumped into each other in a Mexican village and started to, figure out like, oh my God, we have so many compatibilities. We love to work together. We did community projects together, and we have similar vision and similar mission. And when two people come together and this is already similar, it's so easy to co-create. It's I come with an idea and Michael says, okay, we'll do this website, we do this page, we put it into this package. So the feminine and masculine can start to dance together. Like with our Reinvent Yourself program, I came with the idea, I wrote down the main content, Michael did the editing and created all the systems and structure in Kajabi around it. So perfect marriage, match made in heaven. And more people will realize that, that the masculine and feminine, we can work together instead of pushing each other down or, stabbing the knives into the backs of people. Then we start to really co-create and create this new golden earth.
Yeah, and sometimes not everything is so clear. And even though Crystal and I, we work a lot with our inner selves and our inner family in that, and we listen to our intuition and we listen to the things that are out there. For example, the decision to move to San Diego, we actually talked to a relocation, an astrologist, and we did astrology relocation. San Diego was definitely on the radar, especially good for Crystal, good for me, but with challenges. But I was told that those challenges would be worth it. They weren't challenges to stay away from.
Okay.
And I was thinking, okay, I'm a licensed real estate agent in California. I can rehang my license in California while we get going. And then when we were in England and we met with we have our energy teacher from Crystal's past, she did an energy session for both of us and separately. And she told Crystal that she should support my real estate stuff. And she told me that it's going to flow. But it wasn't clear. In fact, when we came here, I rehung my license. I've been licensed for 23 years in California. And I was thinking that I had to get back into retail, the resale end of real estate to do what my passion was, which is the real estate investments, which is how I got into real estate way back when. And it actually became apparent almost just before COVID happened that wasn't necessarily the way I needed to do this. So it wasn't clear at the beginning, but it became clear. I didn't need to do the resale or real retail side to get back into investment. In fact, I've gotten so far into the investment side that there's just not enough hours in the day, and I'm doing what I truly love to do and am passionate about. And in fact, part of what I do is serving and helping the other people who have, some of the people have lost their homes, but there's excess funds out there that they don't know about that we're reclaiming for them. If they're about to lose their home, my partners and I, if we can, we actually help them get through that so that they don't lose their home, and we create like a second mortgage on it. If not, then there is the opportunity for us to take advantage of these properties that come available through foreclosures and stuff. So it was funny how just this year, what we thought was clear wasn't so clear, but became clear. And that was also listening to the intuition, listen to our inner family and the guidance that was being provided.
And you also had, we had this discussion with Michael talking about it. And then I asked, directly, Michael, like, what is that thing in real estate which you are really passionate about? And then Michael was like thinking a little bit like, it's actually real estate investments. That's what I'm passionate about. So we are so conditioned to go the hard route around to get to what we want. So here Michael was actually getting the connections and experiences and guidance. Hey, you can actually go straight to it. You don't need to go around. You can choose the easy way. You can choose the more holistic way. And it's so easy.
And with listening to my intuition and working on it, and now having some great mentorship and everything else, we're well on the road that was intended from the get-go.
Absolutely. And I love that, because I'm all about easy and relaxed now, because I've been working with a couple of coaches who, and that's the other thing I wanted to bring out, that not only is their mantra easy and relaxed, but they are two women who became friends first and then became business partners. And just like you, they each bring different strengths to their relationship. One is very practical and very money mindset, or, well, I would say really good at figuring out what to invest in and things. And then the other one is more about, I don't want to say touchy-feely, but it's more into the emotion side. Yeah, the creative side and emotional. So it works well. And so I think that's a good lesson for those of you out there who may be in relationships that maybe it works on one level, but maybe it's not necessarily the professional relationship you'd like, but to be open to finding that twin flame. And having that intention, I think, is definitely a good way to go about it. So much I want to talk about, and I love how you two do get along and how you do complement one another so well. What was it? You're fortunate to be married, and so in your being able to connect with one another on that type of level, as opposed to the professional level, what advice would you have for people who are maybe still looking for that type of relationship, or maybe they are in a relationship but it's not fulfilling them as well? So what advice do you have for them to be able to learn how to be able to love their lives, maybe even love themselves, love others more deeply?
I think the first thing what we did and experienced was that we were really taking a long time to figure out more who we truly are. Like, who am I? What's my individual platform? What are my desires? What are my visions and mission? And then when we got together, we actually took, it was like over a year, we had different processes going on individually, where we were also finalizing our past. And this is one thing, when people get together, they jump into a relationship so fast that they don't actually give the time to, you know, release the past and clear everything, so that you start a new chapter from the 0 point and start to build it on a new platform. So once we had taken that time and figured out, like, okay, these were my weak points, these were my wounds, I'm aware of those, these trigger me, be careful, and kind of reflected it on each other. We were really aware, like, okay, this is where we are now. So where do we want to head now? Like two sailors on the boat, like, okay, what's our next destination? And then sitting on that boat, like, also having very clear roles, like, okay, so right now you are the captain. I'm the person who is helping with the map, or checking the weather. If the weather report is really bad, what can we take? You know, do we reroute? Do we tack? Like, what's the thing? What do we decide? And then you, in that process, you start to create the we platform. And this is the thing where you, like, it's like building the house. You always need to start from the foundation and then go up. Right. So many people, when they jump into relationship, they start from the roof and then they build down below, and then it's all crooked. And then they wonder, like, what happened?
Right,
you know?
Right.
And that's what we bring to table. Like, people, please have conscious and intentional relationships. Once you start to do this, all your relationships turn into harmonic fairy tales. It's that simple. But because many people don't give that time, or we're just in that cookie cutter way of thinking and creating relationships, not really taking the time, like, why am I here? Why am I with this person? What can we co-create together? Then nothing good comes of it, because it just goes into ego trip, or like, who is what, and then it's a mess. And we were just on this point, like, when we met, we had experienced so much in our lives. We were so much clearer what we want, what we don't want. And then we also had to experience what we did completely wrong in our previous lives. Like, even Michael, who was married over 20 years, there was something which was missing. So he learned, okay, this is something I'm not gonna continue in our relationship. I learned that lesson now. And me, who I was coming from one relationship to another, 14 years, just like monogamous, like serial, relationships, I realized, like, what I need to do and change inside of me, so that the outside reality can change.
Yeah, and it's real important to have that strong, stable individual platforms before you try to build it, because, like you said, you just don't have the structural support. And some of the other things that we do is we have programs in place for this as well, but we talk a lot about kings and queens, and we especially work with queens, even though we really need to work with both. But
when we talk about queens and kings, it's like, conscious, mature, divine, masculine, feminine, because sometimes people mess it up with, fairy tale kings and queens.
Okay.
So. For example, Crystal being from Estonia. Estonia was occupied by Russia for 50 years, up until 1989. And they took their country back with a non-violent singing revolution. If you Google singing revolution, you'll find all you need to know about Estonia. Because of that, and because of a number of other things that their country had gone through, these women were, in many cases, left home alone while the husbands were taken off to work, taken off to Siberia, taken off God knows where. Wars came and went.
And never returned.
And a lot of them never returned. In fact, her grandmother to this day will say, if she hadn't gone into the woods when the soldiers came to town, she might not be here today.
And I wouldn't be here today.
That's right.
So, a whole different culture, a whole different thing. But because of that, all these women were left at home alone to
Mhm.
do both masculine and feminine jobs.
Right.
They were strong, independent women. They raised the children. In most cases, the women or the girls became strong, independent girls, and the men or boys, they were lacking because they didn't have that male figure,
Right.
or role model. So they didn't learn. So, you know, we've seen over and over again that the relationships in Estonia aren't strong because the polarity, the balance is completely off.
And it's sometimes even like the opposite, you know, the man is the woman and the woman is the man.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't create conscious harmonic relationships because it's just like completely wrong. So when Michael came into play, I started to figure out that, oh my God, I am actually a queen.
Yeah.
And then what did you do different?
And as long as the queen knows they're a queen, and of course they're not uppity and all this other stuff, and they know that their self-worth is, they shouldn't settle for anything less.
Right.
So we don't see a lot of the settling. And the men, we teach to treat the queens as they should. And in a lot of cases, when we do our events in Estonia, when the men treat the women as they should, they go, oh my God, that felt great. And they can see how well the woman receives that because they're not used to receiving it. And what ends up happening, we talk about this a lot. I know if I fill Crystal's cup and it's overflowing, not only is she happy, but everybody around her benefits because she is now overflowing with joy and happiness. And it's infectious. Everybody gets that. So that's including me. So it's in my best interest to make sure that she's taken care of, and we teach that.
And so many times the old mindset was that, you know, the man was the one who's supposed to get the attention or love from the woman first. But when the man actually starts that circle and starts to admire and starts to give that extra whatever care or love the woman needs, then the woman's cup will get full, and it's like instantly she wants to do more, she wants to love more, she wants to be there more. And then the whole dynamics of the masculine and feminine, they start to like play and dance and co-create together. We had a really amazing experience. We go to Estonia if we can, like every summer. Last summer we were international guest teachers at the Tantra Festival there.
Last couple of years.
And yeah, it's been always such a pleasure and such an honor to be there. And one of the main organizers actually used to be my client and my student, who then like stepped up and started to do something so big. And it's just so amazing, and I'm so happy to see that happened. And after the event was a blast. Like we always have so much fun, people get so much out of it, and then as we come from so far, they get new perspectives, and they always love the aloha we bring into the events. But just a couple of days after, I remember Michael usually goes to bed earlier. I'm like a night owl, so sometimes I do my writing and stuff in the late hours of the day. And I just got this idea, let's do this new event, which is called How to Play a Woman as a Piano. And I knew Michael was still sleeping, but let me just try it out. I just wrote down what the ideas came, like kind of direct channeling from my inner woman, and did a Facebook event and just blasted it out to all the groups I knew in Estonia overnight. And then I thought like, okay, when Michael wakes up, then I will talk about it. And early in the morning, I went to train. So when Michael woke up, then we almost didn't really talk or see. So I didn't, catch up with him, like saying, we have actually this new event maybe coming, So Michael gets up, opens up Facebook. Everyone is asking, like, do you still have space for that piano woman event? And Michael is like, what event?
What the heck are we doing? And it was sold out. We actually had to create a second event because it sold out too.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So here, here you see the masculine, feminine really playing its part. So feminine was doing the download, And then I was like, okay, we will figure it out. Like, we'll do this and that, and we'll put the structure together. We'll talk about it. And I knew it would be like no problem. So, and let me just test, put the toe in and see if it like has any response.
Right.
And the response was like amazing.
Mm.
So when we did the event, we only had 10 people in the room. We had 5 women, 5 men, and the whole 3 hours, the men were giving all their attention, touches, everything to the woman. And what do you think happened by the end of that 3rd hour?
I can imagine that probably it was flipped, and that the women were actually probably not paying attention to the men because of it, because they were filled up, as you said, right?
Yeah, they were completely overflowing, and a couple of them came as couples, and a couple of them didn't know each other. And the comments that the people were making is they had no clue that by providing a service to somebody else and taking care of them and showing them, the love that they deserve, that it would be so rewarding for them to give.
And there was a couple, they had been together for a while, and this lady was like, oh my God, I had no idea that my partner is a piano player.
Yeah.
So they were really surprised, and so many amazing comments and insights came from that. And that was a true example how the masculine and feminine works. But the problem is that many times when the inner feminine or our intuition comes, we are not home. It's knocking. It's knocking the first time. It's knocking the second time. And we are not listening. We are not taking action. So when you take action, when that knocking is coming, then big things, amazing gifts can come out, and you can share it with the world. And this was actually one of the first events where you had lots of like leading role, because when we did the spiritual stuff, as I've been doing it so much longer, Michael was just supporting first, but then you took over, and it was so beautiful. Michael was so shiny, and like all his like inner spiritual talents were abilities came up, And what happened, the energy we created together with the group, and the people didn't want to go home. We had to kick them out of the room because they were like, so yummy. Yeah. So that was such an amazing experience for people as well, to kind of go deeper into themselves. What kind of relationship do I really desire? Do I
or deserve?
Yeah, desire this kind of, approach where a person who is here is really here. When they touch me, they don't check their phone with their other hand, They are here. They
Present.
are fully here. And then I can also receive them fully because I'm here too. And that was like a game changer for so many of those people who came. And one of the comments they also gave back to us, and I think which has been really difficult and missing from very many spiritual events which are created maybe by men and women separate altogether, is that they oftentimes they go in and they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
But they came into that room. We did such a preparation so deeply, so properly, that the number one thing they said, we felt so safe. Firstly, that the way you guys hold space and the maturity you have, but also the masculine and feminine, but also that you are doing together what you're here supposed to be doing. So fulfilling our mission together. And that's so beautiful. It's like I always say to Michael also, like when we do these events together, it almost feels like we are making love publicly. It's just energies, it just amplifies and multiplies, and we shine for like weeks to come,
Yeah, in fact, on the paper that I sent you, I said 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2.
Yeah.
And that's because it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And also what people learn from that was also what steps they can take to make these desired new relationships happen. So that's one of the missing elements. Also, people may think like, okay, I desire this, but what are those things I need to take? Do I need to work on myself, have a coach, get better with my self-dialogue, take care better of myself? what do I need to change with me so that I can be a better partner to other people in my life.
Well, I think that's awesome, because that's true. That's what people do need to do. But in this this year that we've been in, with being in lockdown and things like this, obviously that type of event that you held was great, because people got to be together and got to be, they weren't practicing social distancing. I'm sure they were able to probably be close enough to look in one another's eyes, and I don't know, what all was involved in it. But how have you found, this year in particular, how has that impacted maybe how you're approaching your business now going forward? And are you able to, what are you able to do to maybe still be able to help people in that way, or to help them to be able to have close relationships and to be able to treat each other, as the kings and queens that they are, but practicing social distancing too?
Well, a lot of if it's a relationship that hasn't already started, then it's a little bit more challenging in these times.
Right.
If it's relationships that's already in existence, good, bad, or indifferent, there's always ways to work on it. What we found through social distancing is people that are working with themselves a lot more. Working with your inner family. Crystal has a program that's called Inner Family. It's a 4-month program.
And it's now more popular because people have the time. Also, some of them have the extra resources to work and go deeper. And they also realize that to take care of yourself, you have to put it to the priority list. If it had been as a last part, now it's time to put it to the higher priority list. And we have created more online presence, definitely, to help people.
Yes. So whether they're stuck or whether they want to take it to the next level, a lot of times they need to look within. So your 3 selves, your inner family, whether there's a blockage that you don't see. So it's actually given us more opportunity to help more people. And then once they do that, when the day does come, if they don't have that relationship with somebody else, whether it be a coworker, boss, family, friend, that they're not able to spend the time with now, when that day does come, they're going to be stronger when that day does come.
Yeah. So the program we invented, the Reinvent Yourself, this one we actually created according to the needs we saw people were having. So we have several layers and steps there. We actually help them to look deep inside, get to know their inner family and those inner resources they have, and also start to kind of go deeper into life purposes. How can they figure out what other abilities and talents they have, how they can activate this? And then also look into finances, how you can make still the finances go and also amplify and multiply them. And also look into the future, because we saw so many people, they stopped dreaming and stopped thinking of the future. But that's like so bad and so wrong, because now is the time to do even more so that your future will be sustainable and happy in a continuous way. So what many people learned, like if they didn't have the rainy day funds, their business basically bankrupt, or they had to stop it. Like my personal hairdresser didn't come through coronavirus. So he had her studio for 15 years and now it's gone. And it's because she didn't think ahead. So there are other ways, how you can come through it. So I think one thing what this really has taught to all of us is how to prevent the crisis
before it happens.
So,
Absolutely.
and that's the number one thing, is to look inside. Stronger and more resourceful you are, the easier it is. And for me, for example, coming from Estonia, where I grew up in Soviet Estonia, where we at times didn't even have much food, or it was very simple because just we didn't have anything in the shops. So we had to figure out how to be sustainable. Everyone had their own little garden. We had potatoes, which we could use throughout the whole winter. We had different things we did so we could have some extra something, on the table. And that mindset, wherever I am in the world, I know I can make it. Like whether it's like a little plant I'm gonna grow, or I'm just gonna, enjoy sunshine, drink water, whatever it is, I'll figure it out. And the number one key we also figured out was exactly that the intuition is much stronger right now during this crisis. It's coming to knock on your door. What's your chance to help people and serve? And if you're home and listening to it, you can make it into something what people need.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if someone listening or watching this on YouTube would like to learn more about this reinvention program, what is the best way that they can connect with you? How can they find out more?
If they look up Infinite Activation or either of us by name, we've got the website, we've got Infinite Activation at Gmail. If they look up Crystal Ra, Laksmi-Ditton, or Michael Ditton, they'll be able to find us.
Yeah, and infiniteactivation.com is our website. We have different things.
Facebook.
Yeah, up there. We also start our own podcast, which is also very exciting to have other experts to come and talk. And the reinvent is really amazing start, because right now is the best time to reinvent yourself, whatever your situation is. So don't hesitate to look into that. But we also coaches. So if someone wants a coaching program, so we are going to do some new launches also with different topics very soon.
And if somebody wants to know more, we do have a free 15-minute power call that we can do.
To figure out if we are a good match.
Right,
so.
right, and that can be scheduled through Calendly.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will make sure that I have all of that in the show notes. So not to worry, I'll have the links there. So I'm so glad that we got to see each other again, even if it's over Zoom. But it's been a pleasure reconnecting with you, and I'm so glad that you were able to be on the show today. And I know that you are doing some awesome work in the world, and anyone who gets a chance to work with you will be lucky that they did. Because
Thank you so much, Aloha.
Yeah, and I meant to mention at the beginning that one of the things that I loved so much about meeting you was your generous heart, because you had a really huge open heart, the two of you, and one of the things that you were doing at this conference, where you were passing out these little slips of paper with sort of questions on them, and one of the ones that I loved was, which we really pretty much talked about today, was what would my life be like if I would let go of the need to produce because of the need to earn money, instead start to only focus and do and be what brings me most joy and do only what I love? Would that create more possibilities for me to take care of me and my dreams? And if you think that I just rattled that off by heart, you're wrong, because I have that taped to my computer screen. It has been there for over a year, because I love asking myself that question every day, because it's really what's led me to do this podcast, which is what I love doing. So I thank you for that. I'm really blessed that you came into my life, and I'm glad that I'm able to share you now with the world. So, which is great.
Thank you. And
so
it's
much.
funny how it's come full circle. And,
And I'm so proud of you that you have taken it to such a new scale and new level. And it's not only the question and not only the words. You actually really deeply went into yourself, like, wow, what are those gifts? And you have made and manifested that question. And I really, really loved it. Really touched me how that question touched you, and we were like instantly connected. Like we had found another family member, our Ohana.
Exactly.
It was so beautiful to connect with you. And also I mentioned that your last name Rand means beach, actually, in Estonian. So you are like heavenly beach for other people too. So
well, I appreciate that. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. I really am glad that we've had a chance to chat, and Thank you all for listening and for watching. I appreciate you as well. And until next time, as always, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.